Hello and welcome to another episode of A Slice of Health, the Candid Health Chat podcast, where we slice away health truth from health fiction. Join me and my friends as we challenge common health myths via chit chat, powered by several cups of coffee. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on social media, and do visit us at asliceofhealth.club. Let's get to today's episode. Welcome back to A Slice of Health, where health comes alive, with bite-sized health education to keep you moving and become your own health champion, with stories that heal and knowledge that empowers. But before we jump into our topic for today, I want to tell you a story. Paul, a 35-year-old gentleman, recently found out that his best friend and best man at his wedding has been diagnosed with stage 3 bowel cancer. The doctors, although they've made plans for surgery and chemotherapy, are not fully on board with the likelihood that Paul's friend will make it. Paul is struggling significantly with his friend's diagnosis, as his friend has always been a healthy man who ran marathons, ate well, had a good intake of protein and creatine in his diet. Paul's friend also never smoked and really hardly ever drank any alcohol, so this news has taken him and his entire family and close circle by surprise. This news has also devastated Paul, who has been asking a lot of questions from his friend's doctor and his own personal doctor as to why his friend has received this diagnosis, especially when there's no family history of bowel cancer. Based on his research, he's been finding out information about fiber, seeing in lots of places that fiber can help reduce the risk of bowel cancer. But he still does not know what this means. What does it mean to eat fiber? What does it mean to have a high fiber diet? What does it mean to look at your plate and say, yes, I have a good amount of fiber on my plate? So, today we're going to be talking about fiber and the link to bowel cancer. So, what exactly is fiber? Dietary fiber are basically an environmental factor that are associated with reduced risk for bowel cancer, or what we know as colorectal cancer. And eating a diet that is high in fiber with lots of whole grains is shown to reduce this risk. Whole grains in themselves are high in fiber, things like whole grain wheat, whole grain oats, and trying to eat these a bit more by making simple swaps in our diet can help us increase the amount of fiber that we have. So, what exactly are grains? Grains are the seeds of plants like wheat and corn, and they're produced in the entirety of the grain. Now, grains can be processed and refined to make them whiter and easier to digest, but because they miss parts of the grain, some of the fiber and the nutrients are lost in that processing experience. So, what makes a whole grain? A whole grain means that nothing is missing from the entirety of the grain. In scientific terms, that means that it contains the three parts called the bran, the endosperm, and the germ. Fiber in itself is a kind of carbohydrate. It's found in plant based foods like fruits and vegetables, things like beans and lentils, and they maintain a good and healthy digestive system. So, a high fiber diet, and including those that have whole grains that have not been excessively refined, does reduce the risk of having bowel cancer. It is important to note that not all cases of bowel cancer can be prevented. There are lots of different factors that increase the risk of bowel cancer, especially family history and a person's personal digestion, a person's personal genetics. Fiber in itself helps support regular movements of the bowels, basically helps us poo more often. Fiber in itself helps us to feel full for longer, and so it encourages us not to snack during the day and not to rush for things that cause sugar spikes, like quick snacks that are full of sugar. Fiber also contains lots of different nutrients that can also help things that have Fiber also contains lots, whole grains also contain lots of nutrients that are full of vitamins and minerals that helps us maintain a balanced lifestyle. And fiber in itself helps keep the bowels and your gut nice and healthy by making something called butyrate. And this helps keep our bowels nice and healthy and reduces the risk of having tumors. So, how much fiber should someone like Paul start to incorporate in his diet every day? We normally say about 30 grams of fiber in our diet every day can help. There are lots of different sources of fiber, as I mentioned earlier. Vegetables are a good place to start, things like broccoli and peas. Things like baked potato with the skin are also really good. Things with wholemeal and whole grains like lentils, chickpeas, and other things that are in that category of pulses are also good to incorporate into our diet. So, starting by making simple switches, switching refined grains to whole grains, incorporating vegetables on every plate and in every meal, eating veggies and roots with their skin on, if they're edible raw, is also a good place to start. And then incorporating things like pulses into our salads. So adding some chickpeas into your salads, adding some lentils into your salads, adding some beans into your salads as well is a good way to increase your fiber intake. Other things like unsalted nuts and seeds are also nicely packed with fiber as well. So there we have it. There's lots of different ways to improve fiber intake. And yes, fiber is known to reduce the risk of bowel cancer. However, there are multiple factors that cause bowel cancer. And so, knowing your own personal risk as well as understanding your family history is always a good place to start. There we have it for today. Until I come again to you with stories that heal and knowledge that empowers. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. Remember that this podcast in no way replaces the advice you receive from your own doctor or physician. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on social media. Leave us a review on iTunes so that others can access the amazing content. And don't forget to be a health champion wherever you are by separating health fact from health fiction.